In this chapter, I will show you step by step how to create basic template for procedural texturing of organic models directly inside the Redshift shader graph. As next step, we will create procedural shaders, and I will show you my basic techniques which I am using very often. Purpose of this chapter is to explain basics of procedural shading. For more advanced techniques, we have chapter Advanced Procedural Techniques. Please check description for info about model and what chapters you have to understand earlier, then you will start to learn procedural techniques. Drag and drop or import model into the cinema. As you can see, we have incorrect axis and world scale. Rotate your model, change scale 10 times smaller. So instead 2 meters, our real world scale is 20 centimeters. Let's do have a look on our wireframe. You can see that we have really high polygonal model. We need to optimize it. Use polygonal reduction and drag and drop your model under polygonal reduction. Wait until the process finish, and now you can see that vertex count is much better for computer performance. Select both, right click, connect object and delete. After this operation we will get correct axis, so we do not need to rotate it manually. As next step, we will create new Redshift material. Replace old material. And now we can delete all imported material. In viewer we can see that we are using new material. Let's to create camera. And confirm that you would like to use current camera. Now we will have a look on the layout, what I prepared for you. Wide layout, where I created more space to demonstrate how I am connecting nodes, or alternatively layout with a bigger viewer, depends what you prefer. Under layout list, you can see another 10 more layouts, all available for our students. Let's go back on standard layout and copy camera, and we will use this second camera as working camera. Keep everything organized. Turn off visibility if you don't want to see lines inside your viewer, and then correctly all your layers. Let's to create vertex selection. We will use vertex color. We created new vertex tag, and in viewer you can see that we have pen tool. Click on your new vertex tag and correctly name your selection. In our case, it will be legs. We would like to create legs for separation, and we will use fields. Click on the use fields. It will create new fields tab, and under fields tab you can choose what kind of fields you would like to use. Currently our box feels really large, so we have to zoom out to see. And now I will speed up and make selection. Don't forget that the important thing of the selection is that you can combine more fields together, but final result has to be black and white selection. More info you will find in our vertex pen and field chapters. Switch to layer 11, select material, and now you can see material in the shader graph. Write vertex, drag and drop vertex attribute, select vertex tab. Under basic you can find name of our selection, and drag and drop our tag into the attribute name. Now we can use our legs field selection as mask, so let's to connect to output. Don't forget to start our render view, and now we can see our selection. Let's to make it a bit more space, turn off status and render info. We can ignore for now what we are seeing in 3D view, important is rendering view, and let's plug our base material into the output. In chapter Procedural Techniques, I show it to you all examples and what kind of the nodes we are using. And now I will show you step by step how we can use all those nodes. We will start with the state, AO, and curvature node. We will need also vector range node. Let's to make a little bit more space and keep always your nodes organized. Now we need node material blender for blending more materials together. We will plug our first material into base color as our base material. Copy our first material, Ctrl drag or classic Ctrl C. Plug it into the layer 1, layer color 1. And as mask we will use our vertex selection. We will plug it into the blend color. Select material from layer 1 and we need to change color to see difference in our viewer. Connect material blender into our output and now you can see how looks blended our first two materials together. Now it's time to connect into the material blender more layers. We will use copy of first material. Don't forget that we have to change its color. Layer 2, color 2. Curvature we will use as mask in layer 2 blend color 2. We need a little bit more space. Always keep it organized and as much as possible visibility of all your nodes. Now we will connect our state node into the input of vector change range. As I said already in other chapters, state node use negative values, so don't forget change your old range mean to -1. Now we need ramp node. And for ambient occlusion, we will use color split node. Drag and drop into the shader graph and connect output from AO into the color splitter. Let's use our ramp. Output R into the input of our ramp. And now we will connect our ramp into the output. And in viewer, we can see output from channel R. Let's do disconnect. Under tools, we have connect node to output. I assigned shortcut 0, so I do not need anymore manually connecting all my nodes into the output. Our AO node currently using occlusion mode. That's the reason why you cannot see differences between RGB channel yet. But if you will switch from occlusion mode to normal mode, you will get 3 different results from our color split output. Spread, follow and distance are main parameters which will help you refine your final look of your mask. Currently we need ambient occlusion mask, so keep your output mode on occlusion. For our normal mask we will use state normal output connected to vector range and after that to color splitter. In viewer you can see output from change range. Let's to make again a little bit more space. And we will reconnect our ramp node. Connect the ramp to output and now you can see in render view our result. Check ramp value to be sure that our node is not clumping too much and use them to create mask as you need. Now if we will reconnect from different channel, you will see differences in the render view. Again, don't forget that the ramp node is very important for final look of your mask. In our case, we are looking for output from channel G, and in ramp node we will find optimal value when we are clipping enough, but always we can change this intensity later. Again, let's organize a little bit our nodes. And in state node, check transfer space. In our case, we need objects instead world. Again, we need a little bit more space. Masks which are creating now, we need to plug into the material blender or color layer. After that, we can see results directly on the models. So let's create color layer node. We can plug into the color layer textures or noises or mask what we are creating now. On the beginning, we will just use classic colors. Base color will be something middle grayish. And layer 1. We need to create different color which will nicely separate in the viewer what we are doing. On the beginning, doesn't matter what color it will be. We need to plug our mask to layer 1 mask. And before we will continue, let's organize and make more space again to have better visibility what we are doing. It looks a little bit annoying, always changing space, nodes, and moving up and down. That's actually main reason why many artists use more than one monitor. I have 2 huge monitors, so I do not need to do that very often. But for other purposes and for recording purposes, there is not any other option. Just we have to be patient and do all stuff again and again. Always name your layers and materials, especially if you are doing procedural techniques, because procedural techniques include many nodes. And if you will need to change something in your script, let's to say 3 months or 4 months later, you will have many troubles with orientation and it generates much more work. Always try to find your way, what is working for you. I mean, don't be scared to play with the colors, with the values, go left, go right, see maximum value what is doing, minimum value what is doing when it's using red color, what is doing when it's blue color. Always double check copy nodes that they are not using the same values or the same color, especially if you are using 2 different materials over the mask. Now it's time to go back on our color layer. Plug your color layer into base material, diffuse color, and in render view you can see how works all materials together. In our RS color layer, we are using base layer grayish color, which you can see in the render view, yellowish color, which you can see on the top. We separated it with the mask what we prepare. Legs material, we can see as dark material in the viewer. And after that we have curve details separated by soft mask which we created from Curvature. As we will change radius value, you will see in the viewer how it's changing mask separating between the red and other colors. And as you can see, we are creating 2 lines of the nodes, color layer and material blend. And now we have ready basic template for procedure and texturing. Let's connect output to basic material. And as you can see, the main part is state node, which is helping to us separate top and bottom parts in color layer. So state node is working as mask, orange is on the top, and bottom part is grayish. And with ramp node, we are driving intensity between these two separated colors. Back to the color layer. Inside we can see layers and assigned colors separated by mask. So as we will do changes, we will see these changes immediately in the render view. Find colors which are working for you, but remember you can anytime change it, so it's not necessary to spend too much time with this. But it will show you what else you are planning to do with and what other layers you are suggesting to play with. For beginners, I'm always recommending to find references and try to match references as close as possible. We tweak our base material. Let's go on our legs material. Connect to the output. Again, find color which is working for you. Let's try in this case something blue, because I see on the references that Crabs has blue legs, many colors, and it looks really very interesting, but it's never just one color, so we need to do some separation, and we will build our noise setup for it. The same workflow as before. We will create base color, layer 1 color, and layer 1 mask will be separated by noise. So in this case, noise will work as mask for us. It's standard technique if you would like to make some color variation or different kind of the mix for more realistic materials. So under layer 1, from black color, let's make dark bluish. Connect color layer to output. And now we can see our result from color layer. Now we need to build setup for noise, and we will use ramp node for clumping our values. Connect input to the ramp and reconnect layer 1 mask. Don't forget to check your source inside the ramp. Older version need to switch for alt. Newer version has already auto, which is working very well. And we need to clump black and white values to see more visible results in our viewer. Now we need to change noise values. We will start with coordinates, which are responsible how big patterns we will see on our models. Bigger values creating smaller patterns on the model. Smaller scale values creating bigger patterns on the model. Somewhere around 2 should work for us. Also, we can drive separated axis value in the scale. Or if we need, we can use offset value as well. And we will move with entire noise by axis of our choice. Now we can plug our color layer into our legs material. Diffuse color. Let's connect our legs material to the output. And now we can see color variation instead one single color as was before. Let's connect our material blender to output to see how it works together. And as you see in the viewer, we can see our new blue material just on the area separated by vertex area mask. Let's go on our details material, which is now correctly red color. As we are changing color, you can see changes in the viewer. As mask, we are using curvature. To drive curvature, we will use ramp. Drag and drop ramp. Connect curvature into the ramp. And now we will reconnect the ramp with the blend color to blend mean mask. Back to our ramp. Check again your source that you have auto or alt. And now we can start to clump our values to get different results. Connect ramp to output. Now we can see just curvature mask. So it's easier for us to tweak it exactly as we need. Again, we can change radius, depends what kind of mask you are looking for. Higher numbers will make mask softer, smaller values will make much more sharper. Let's to make a little bit space for another node. Back on the clumping, if you are clumping black values less, you can see much smoother mask with more details. Opposite way is much more contrasty. Now we will use multiply. As I said many times, default value for input 2 is 0, so you can't see any result. Let's to check our result from Material Blender. You can't see nothing now, but if we will start to increase our number, you can see our curvature edge with color contribution now. Let's to make a little bit space. We will have a look on the base material color layer now. Again, we will create curvature with different values. So we will need ramp node as well. Connect into the input. And as usual, we will use multiply as well. Let's do drag and drop multiply node. Connect into the input. And now we will connect multiply into layer 2 mask. Select color layer. We need to set up layer 2, which is default not enable. So enable layer 2. Let's to use some greenish color for now. Connect to output. And currently you can't see our green curvature because multiply is coming with default value 0. But let's to set up first curvature. This time I would like to see something sharper with more details. In the ramp we can clump some values to get even more contrasty result. Let's to try something even smaller. I think that going to work. And back on the multiply to change value to make visible our layer. Now we need to change the color from this poison green to something what is giving much more sense in our case. I think some dark reddish color will work a little bit better. Also, we can use blend mode as in the Photoshop if we need to mix colors over the mask or other operation. Connect base material to the output, and now we can see entire our base material how it's looking after all our tweaks. As next step, we will use ambient occlusion mask. That's the main reason why we are having it always in our base template for procedural texturing. We will use as usual ramp node, drag and drop ramp, connect any of output to input of ramp, and we need to connect into our color layer as layer 3 mask. Connect our ramp node to output. Now we can see in viewer how looks our ambient occlusion mask. Again with ramp we will clump value as we need, but first I'm using always invert of the bright and dark colors because that's giving me much better mask. Now we can see really nice mask. And very often I am using this kind of the mask also to mix noises or for dirt areas as well. Let's to connect our color layer to output. With ramp, we will drive our mask. But first, let's go back to color layer. We need to enable layer 3. Now we can see in our viewer already black part over our mask. Let's to change a little bit color. I'm never using totally black color because it looks a little bit like clumped. So let's to make some dark bluish. Also, let's to try different kind of the blends mode, which can very often change your result as blends mode in the Photoshop. So never be scared to experiment. You never know how will react. All these changes sometimes are unpredictable. In my case, I would like to use multiply. And with the ramp node, now we can drive final result. And we are changing intensity of mask, as you can see in our render view. And now we can select our base material and connect to output to see how looks our added layers together. Next step is lighting, and we will use dome light. You can use icon in my template, or you can find it under Redshift menu. Now you need to import HDR maps and try to find something what is working with your image. Try always different kinds of the maps because it's very important how it will react with the reflection and with mood of your image. In description you can find link for HDR maps what I'm using, and for more info about HDR lighting we have 2 extra separated chapters. After you found your HDR map which is working for you, we have to set up saturation and exposure to have clear image in our render view. Now we are ready to start tweak material parameters. We will start with the base material. Base material has our diffuse weight coming from color layer. Now we can see our contribution of this layer. After that, we need to tweak reflection. Main reason why we are using more than one material is that we will have different kind of the roughness and weight reflection on them. Roughness variation always making your model more realistic. And in Material Blender, we have more than one material separated by mask, so those variations are automatically making roughness breakup. In our render view now you can see output from Material Blender. So let's do change roughness on our legs material to find nice balance between base and legs roughness. As next step, we will do the same for curve details material. So in the reflection, we will tweak roughness. Let's to keep shiny kind of material for now. Now starting process when you are trying to find look, colors, roughness, and you are changing many parameters in your materials. As example, we are going to change our color in the legs materials, which are presented by color layer. So if we will not keeping it organized, we will get lost super fast. Now is it all just about your creativity? You have opportunity to play with the colors, the values, try more than one variation, how it looks together, and don't be scared to experiment with. I like to use also color correct. So let's try to use color correct. We will plug our color layer into the input of color correct. And we will reconnect now diffuse color in legs materials. So now we have another step how we can control our colors with the saturation scale, contrast, gamma, we have full control of entire color layer now. And we can either do changes directly in color layer or after that in color correct. All depends on your creativity. But be very careful about quantity of the nodes. Always try to keep it simple as much as possible. Too many nodes means too many tweaks, and it's usually way to the chaos. Let's have a look on the power of color correct now. Usually it's a lot of fun to play with hue or saturation or either contrast, gamma. All those parameters are very artistic, so let's play for a while. This brownish color variation on the legs material is working a little bit better for me than was the blue one before. So let's keep it like this for now. We need a little bit more space for another layer. This time it will be noise. We will use noise to create a little bit more details and color variations, which will help us to make even more interesting result. So again, we will use ramp. Classic setup as always, nothing new. You just need to practice the same methods again and again. Connect ramp to the output. Make stronger contrast on our mask. We need to tweak noise coordinates. Higher numbers will bring more details, as we said already in the example before. We need more complexity and less amplitude gain. Now you see how sharp details we are getting from noise. To continue on our tweaks, we will need to plug our new mask into the material blender. So again, we will need material for it. My idea is that it will be some blue details over our crab, separated by noise. So let's correctly name it. It will be blue details or maybe blue materials. It depends what you like more. Connect into layer free, layer color free. And now we can plug our mask as well. Layer free, blender color free. Let's keep it organized as always. And connect our material blender into the output to see final result. Click our material blender and connect to the output. And now we can see in render view our new layer. It looks a little bit like it's sand on our crab. So next time you can keep it, but I'm going to try, as I said, some blue details to make some breakup and more color variation. And this material will have also diffuse roughness higher, let's say around 0.25, reflection weight lower, and the roughness higher. So we getting another different material than we have values in other materials. Let's jump to our ramp. If we will decrease black lamp, you can see that we are getting even more cover of blue color. If we will increase our black lamp, you almost can see it. So let's find value which is working for our purposes. Also, we can make bigger contrast. Let's keep it for now. Later we can come back. Now we will copy our vertex attribute node. Drag them down. My idea is use vertex selection as mask for noise separation. We will use multiply for. Connect ramp in input 1 and vertex attribute into input 2. Make a little bit space. As always, keep it organized. Ramp. Connect multiply to ramp. And reconnect our ramp with blend color free. So we'll replace mask as was before. Now you can see that on top area we have not anymore this blue noise part. So that's how you can separate noises or other added materials by vertex selection or state node or AO node, depends what you are looking for. Let's to create another layer with the noise and ramp. So similar technique as we used before. Connect the ramp to the output. In noise we will this time use turbulence. Again we will change clumping to get bigger contrast. Back on the noise. And we will decrease amplitude gain for more sharper details. And we will increase overall scale, as you see in the render view, to get this kind of the small details. Let's do invert colors in the ramp. So what was black is now white, and I did it per purpose. Now you can see that we are getting totally different pattern. We can also distort our pattern, starting looking interesting. Let's go try something like this. Again, make a little bit more space. Copy material or create new material, depends on you. Name it correctly. Let's just say that this time will be red details. You can also change color for better visibility. Let's do it for blue material as well. So we have blue details, we have red details. Anytime you can change it if you will realize that orange is better. Connect to layer 4, layer color 4. So we are making another layer of materials, and our mask, we will connect to layer 4 blender color. As I said, blender means mask. It's the same thing. Let's to connect our material blender to the output. And in the render view now we can see final result. We need to tweak our parameters to see it much more obvious. We can start with ramp, decrease. Now we can see it override entire material. And instead red, we have blue because we copied blue material. So let's to change color to red. Now we can clearly see how it looks in our render view. And let's to find some value which we will have just feelings that we are using this red material, but it will be not too obvious because too many obvious things are not very good if you are trying to achieve reality. Few layers we are always creating just to get feelings. The feelings and breakups and all those things are really helping to achieve good look. We can try also to change coordinates and scale. All depends on your ideas and creativity, what you are trying to create, or if you are trying to be very close to your references. Now back to red color. And we have ready another layer. Another common technique for extra details is bump. Bump will help you to create another level details and also helping break up and doing better separation. We need bump map node, and as input we will use our noise what we created already. So connect to texture input and output into the material, overall, and bump input. That's where bump map belong, into the bump input. Default high scale value is 1. So if you would like to change size of the bump, you need to change height scale. Let's to use our ramp, and also how contrasty will be our mask. That is how much visible will be our bump as well. Let's to tweak now a little bit reflection on our red material. red or orangey, depends. We'll do like more. And as you can see, now it's more about fun and playing with the colors, values, because we set up all important layers already. So now is it just to find balance between layers. And because we are using procedural techniques, we are actually not limited in any size or shapes or amount of the details. And let's to create one more layer with a curvature, because on our model is small details, and we will use curvature with a small radius, let's say around 0.1 or even smaller. You can see in our viewer how we are picking back our details across entire surface. We will need ramp again. Connect into input of the ramp and connect the ramp into our output. Now we will see all parameters when we will try to tweak them directly in our output. We created new material as well. So now we are ready to plug material and our new mask into the material blender. Again, we need to create a little bit space for. Now is it okay? Plug material into the material blender layer 5 color and plug our mask into the layer 5 blend color. Now is ready our layer 5 with the curvature and new material. Again, let's to make now a little bit viewer obvious. Soon we will even zoom into the model because we are starting to play with the details soon. So it will be necessary to see our models in better details. Always zoom into your models when you are finishing your details to see as much as possible. Connect material blender to output. And now we can see how it's working curvature and new material color as our final result. Let's do tweak color as usual we are doing. Now it's going to be all steps again and again the same. So that's the reason why I show you the basics techniques. Actually now you see a routine. There is nothing new anymore. And now you are able to create your own procedural materials with layers and tweak them exactly as you need. And as next step is combination of the nodes, combination of the selections, move operation between nodes. All these examples you've seen already in my other chapters, so it's not necessary to go over and over. You get perfect idea now how all these kind of things works. So if I would like to multiply between selections, I can add another selection, mix them, separate them, create another layers. But all these layers, what we are creating using the same routine as I was showing to you in entire this chapter. So if you will use knowledge from our other chapter, you will try to apply all these techniques or all my workflow on your own models. Soon you will be able to create your own full procedural materials and even more difficult than this example. And now is it more just about practice, experimenting, and about your creativity. For my final render, I did one more vertex selection, as you can see on my speed up working process, and I used few more layers exactly as I showed you before. Now it's your time to show me your creativity. Try to use all techniques what you learn in this chapter and send me links where I can see your final results. Important is to practice a lot. Very often people following step-by-step entire process or tutorials, but it means you are just copying results on somebody else without creativity. My goal is to teach you techniques which will help you to create your own vision instead. As you can see, I created 3 different versions before I chosen which one I would like to use for my final render. And that's normal process when you are trying to achieve something interesting and something what you never did before.